When you support the Endangered Species Act, you support the notion that all animals need to be protected and their habitats, and you support the notion that we talk to the federal government to ensure that no animal is harmed. We all have a responsibility to protect the endangered species, both for their sake and for the sake of our own future generations. Loretta Lynch, the former U.S. Attorney General. I have done extensive research and I am prepared to tell you about this very law. These animals need us just like we need them. Without animals, there will be a break in the food chain, and which will negatively affect us. The three principles of the Endangered Species Act are to list and protect endangered species, designate where critical habitats are and protect them, and finally consult the federal government to ensure no animal is harmed. I will now also discuss why some are against, against the act and explain why they are wrong. Now I will explain how this law lists and protects the lives of animals. Under Section 11 of the Endangered Species Act, if someone is caught intentionally violating the Endangered Species Act, he or she will face a fine of $50,000 or 1 year prison time, or both. While ESA provides the guidelines to protect endangered species, it is up to the states to enforce the bill. 46 states have some form of protection in place. Most are dealing with efforts that are deemed critical by the government. I believe all states should be required to enforce the bill. And a person should not only have to face 1 year prison time for violating this bill. According to NCEL blog, the main drivers of extinction, or species endangerment, include habitat destruction, pollution, climate change, invasive species, and wildlife trafficking and trading. These threats put current human-driven extinction rates between 1,000 and 10,000 times what is considered natural. I have here a pie chart, which is explaining that 31% of extinction is due to habitat alteration, and 21% is due to hunting for common products, also known as poaching. There are currently over 250 species listed under the Endangered Species Act. World Wildlife Fund informs that some of these animals include the African forest elephant, the Amur leopard, the green turtle, the polar bear, the Arctic wolf, and many more. Why would anyone want to harm our beautiful animals? I will now explain how the Endangered Species Act designates where critical habitats are and how they protect them. This law was enacted in 1973 as a response to declining populations of animals and plants. According to U.S. Department of Interior, the act was designated to protect and recover species at risk of extinction and promote conservation of ecosystems and habitats necessary for the survival of those species. Each of these species have a unique life, each with a unique culture and a biological community which perform services that are essential for our survival. The Smithsonian Magazine states, humans have altered 97% of land through habitat and species loss. Only 3% of Earth's land and ecosystems remain untouched. By altering their homes, these animals are forced to move out of places where they felt comfortable. And by doing this, these animals respond chaotically. How would you like to be forced out of your home? By supporting the Endangered Species Act completely, you will be ensuring not only animals, but humans will have fresh air to breathe, beautiful land to live on, and clean water to drink. Now, let's talk about how this act consults the federal government. In Section 7 of the law, if the ESA agency finds that an action is threatening a species or habitat, the agency submits a request for a formal consultation. The Endangered Species Act agency also informs the government about how the laws are protecting our flora and fauna and what we can do better. The consultation also serves as a way to talk about projects the ESA might want to do. because the only way the ESA can do anything is by consulting the federal government. The government does not force states to comply with the laws to protect wildlife, and this is why we need to do our part to support the bill being enforced. I will now discuss why people are against the law and explain why they are wrong. Critics claim that the Endangered Species Act sacrifices people for slimy creatures. Congress has started to target the ESA for economic interests. According to EPA, the ESA has been criticized for placing restrictions on industries such as logging, mining, gas and oil development. Even though this is true, EPA also informs research was conducted by defenders found, for example, that in more than 88,000 consultations on federal actions, no project was altered or was stopped or extensively altered. Additionally, the ESA provided provisions that can still allow economic activity as long as the industries do not harm species listed on the endangered species list. In conclusion, during my speech, I informed you about the 3 parts of the Endangered Species Act, and I also informed how some are misled into believing the ESA disrupts the flow of money. Now I will summarize why the law is important. When I learned about the law passed, making it illegal to harm endangered species, I thought that it was about time. These animals fall victim to people destroying their homes, poaching, and much more. This is why the agency regularly consults the government to update them and implement laws. The Endangered Species Act has 3 parts. The first part of the act focuses on listing and protecting the endangered species. The second part of the act designates where critical habitats are and protects them. And the third part consults the federal government to ensure no animal is harmed. Some even believe that the ESA has affected big businesses, which was proven false. Poachers are regarded as one of the worst offenders in the world because of their horrible ways of treating animals. They skin animals alive for their furs, they dehorn species for their ivory, and much more. These hunters only think about money, not the animals who are tortured. If the Endangered Species Act is not supported and enforced, there will continue to be wildlife suffering. And without our flora and fauna,